What up, y'all? It's your guy Dawson from D&D TV. Thank you for rating, commenting, and subscribing. Everybody who's donated, those of you all who will, you know I appreciate it. Also, make sure you go over to my other YouTube channel, Dawson Speak TV. Make sure you subscribe over there. And when you subscribe, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you get my notifications when I drop a new video. Now, let's get into this topic. Now you all see the title of this video, so we're going to get into it. I am a social worker down here in South Florida for over 12 years now, and I see stuff like this all the time with men and with women. And this has become a recurring theme, or issue rather, around the United States with so many mothers and with fathers too, but who leave their children at home alone to go different places, to go get their hair done, to go out to a bar or to a club, to go hang out with friends, to go meet a boyfriend or someone they met online. This has to stop. And if people want to keep doing this and not care about the children they already have, then they don't deserve to have those children. And if your children go with other family members or DCF, then so be it, because obviously going to the club, the bar, is more important to you than taking care of your children. Now, these two stories, I'm going to start with this one, comes out of Rock Hill, South Carolina, and it's of Martika Adams, 30 years old. She left her six kids home alone while she went to a sports bar. Now she is facing charges according to authorities. Authorities say that they went to the home on Whitener Street to do a welfare check on her children, and they found all children ages from 1 year old to 8 years old home alone, all six of them. Really? Police said that they located Martika Adams at Sports Unlimited, which is a bar near her place. She reportedly told the officers that she did not plan on returning until the next morning. The children were placed in the custody of their grandmother after Department of Social Services was contacted. Adams faces multiple charges, including unlawful neglect of a child and simple possession of marijuana. Now, before I get into the other story, let me just say thank you to the grandmother who took these six kids in, because I don't know if Martika said thank you or not. And thank you to all the other grandmothers, especially grandmothers and aunts and some uncles and, family members and, foster parents who take these kids in when the mother and the father drop the ball, when basically they are unfit parents. And you all can say, well, that don't mean they unfit parents. If you leaving your six children home alone to go to a sports bar and you're telling the police that you did not plan on coming back to the next morning, you are an unfit parent. Now let's get into this next story. Now this next story is tragic, and it's coming out of Houston, Texas, and it's of this lady right here, Lauren Dean. According to Texas authorities, they say that the mother left her child home alone and the child died in the bedroom. According to police, Lauren Dean, 26 years old, left her three children at home alone while she went to a bar. Can somebody please tell me what is at the bar that they are leaving their kids home alone? Like, really? Police say an officer went to the mother's apartment the next morning to do a CPS welfare check. When the officer and the mother, Dean, went to the 7-year-old daughter's room, she was unresponsive, according to the officer. The child had Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and was also on a feeding tube. Are you kidding me? Police report that Dean is now facing charges including abandonment and endangering a child. Her two other children were removed from the apartment and now they are with family members. Now, I'm going to let you all watch these news clips, and when I come back, y'all know I'm not holding back. I'm going to say everything I want to say.
A Rock Hill mother is behind bars accused of child neglect. Police say Martika Adams left her six kids home alone while she went out to a bar. Police tell us the oldest child in the house is 8 years old. The youngest, just 1. WBTV's Christy O'Connor shows us how police found out the kids were home by themselves.
Police responded to that home on Whitner Street after a person called for a welfare check. I did speak to the person who called and reported that situation to police. They didn't want to talk to me on camera, but told me they felt they needed to report it after hearing the children crying outside last night.
Piss me off.
Neighbors of 30-year-old Martika Adams weren't pleased to hear her six children were left at their Rock Hill home while their mom went to a bar.
You don't need to leave them in the house by themselves. They can't take care of themselves. What if somebody broke in the house?
Police say the kids are 8, 7, 7, 4, 3, and 1 years old. They're all okay. Meanwhile, their mother was found at Sports Unlimited, a bar in South Rock Hill. Police say she didn't plan to return home until the next day. She was arrested for unlawful neglect of a child and possession of marijuana.
Because anybody leave their kids at home like that don't need no kids. She don't even need to be, she needs to be arrested.
It's not the first time Adams has been in trouble with the law. She pleaded guilty in 2014 to neglect charges after her 5-month-old had an allergic reaction to ant bites. Police records say Adams didn't take the child to get the rash treated. A family member told police a doctor said the rash could have been life-threatening had it not been taken care of sooner.
She don't need them back. If she gonna leave them out there in the house by themselves all night long, she don't need no kids.
Adams appeared before a judge this morning in Rock Hill City Court. She was denied bond. She'll be held at the York County Detention Center until her next court date. Reporting in Rock Hill, Christy O'Connor, WBTV. On
More this evening about a 7-year-old girl who was found dead inside of her mother's apartment. Jordan Barrera's family says the little girl was bedridden and in poor health, and her mother is in jail tonight facing 3 charges of abandoning or endangering a child with imminent bodily injury. ABC 13's Marla Carter is live at the mother's apartment where she was arrested on Friday in Bay City. Marla?
That's right, Melanie, and that mother, Lauren Dean, is currently in jail on a $250,000 bond. Bay City police say they arrived to her apartment here on Friday to do a welfare check, and that's when they found 7-year-old Jordan dead inside.
Jordan Herrera's family is devastated. Pastor Frank Pies spoke with her father today.
He's hurt. He's grieving, of course, but he is holding up for his other child and trying to get things together for Jordan.
Bay City police say they went to Lauren Dean's apartment and found Jordan dead inside. The 7-year-old was bedridden, and her family says she had health issues. Bay City police have not released any other information on her death, only saying the investigation is ongoing. Dean's 2 other children were also inside of the apartment. One is 5, the other 3 months old. Jordan's mother was charged with 3 counts of abandoning and endangering a child. CPS assisted in the case and say both of the other children are now with relatives. Now the community is stepping up to help Jordan by hosting a fundraiser at Power Church.
Just knowing that a 7-year-old has gone and there was no resources to bury her, we wanted it just to step up. Our heart just went out to children.
The church is hosting a lunch on Friday to raise money for funeral expenses.
We have had great response. People donating food items, people already ordering their plates. It seems going to be very successful.
Houston area police say the mother of a child found dead left all 3 of her kids at home alone so she could go to a bar. The 7-year-old child who died had Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and was on a feeding tube. 26-year-old Lauren Dean, you see her here, facing charges including abandonment and endangering a child. Her 2 other children were removed from the home.
All right, y'all, let's go in. Now, first of all, I want to give my condolences out to the little baby Jordan Barrera's family. Who are going to have to bury this child. It is just so sad that when parents drop the ball, tragic things like this can happen. And it is sad because I know a lot of people may see this video and say, well, Dawson, don't beat up on the people. They made a mistake. No, when you're doing stuff like this is something that has to be addressed, because at the end, who suffers? Not the parents. They may suffer a little bit, but the kids suffer. And in in Miss Dean's case, her daughter suffered. The daughter who had cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and was also on a feeding tube, who's no longer with us because her mother wanted to go to the bar instead of caring for her child who had medical needs. The kids suffer. So if it offends you that I'm talking about this, you just gonna have to deal with it, because I'm not put here to babysit your emotions. You better take care of your own emotional health. Now let's get into this. Now, in both of these cases, we see mothers here that dropped the ball because they wanted to go out and have fun. They wanted to go to the bar, so they left their children home alone. And many of you, just like I asked the question, you may be asking, where were the fathers, or where are the fathers? And I want to know the same thing too. Where are the fathers that you have to leave 6 kids in Marquita's case, Marquita Adams' case? You leave 6 kids home alone while you go to Sports Unlimited bar, and your neighbors come out and they're saying, look here, you don't need the kids. And I'm agreeing with the neighbors. You don't need the kids if you're going to leave them home alone and go to a bar. And then the same thing with Lauren Dean. What's at the bar that you all would leave your children home alone? I don't understand that. And where are the fathers? Now, in Lauren Dean's case, they said the father of 2 of the kids, and definitely the one who passed away, that he went to the church and he's getting the help he needs, and he's going through a lot, and he's been, crying. But I don't know what their relationship was like. I don't know if he lived in the house or not. But the fact is, she was the parent who had the custody at that time of the child, and instead of taking care of her child, she went to a bar. Now, you all know I have worked with Department of Children and Family down here in Florida. And I remember going to one of our little conferences one day that we had. And I think it was an attorney or maybe it was a judge. And they told us this, and it has always stayed with me, even though I'm not working with Department of Children and Family anymore. They said, when you have parents, or when children are not raised correctly, they become a burden to society, and someone will pay when children are not raised correctly, and usually that is society. Yes, we pay when children are not raised correctly. Your children are not just for a check. Let me repeat that again. You are not having children just to get a check and other benefits. Your children need to be raised. Because society pays when you don't raise your children. They become a burden to society. It becomes a burden to the grandmother in Marquita's case who had to take the kids. And in Miss Dean's case, Lauren Dean's case, her family who had to take those kids in. It becomes a burden to society. Now, many of you may say, well, they're young, they make mistakes. No, they were old enough to have sex at 26 and 30 years old. And it's others who are at other age ranges who are doing the same thing. And this is why I always tell people, they say, oh, well, I don't believe in, I ain't going to harm my kids. I'm going to have my kids because it's God's will. I'm going to have kids. Then you have more and more kids. And I want to tell you, since you want to be morally right when it's having these kids, let's be morally consistent. Why aren't you married when you're having these kids? Take a breath. If you're going to be morally right on this side, let's be morally consistent. Why aren't you married when you have all these kids? And some of these kids have different daddies. So I don't get this where you have, and I deal with this with a lot of women on my caseload, and a lot of times I have to go in, not with a barrier, because they have a barrier up when they see a man, especially me coming talking to them, and I'm a young man, and then, I have some women on the caseload who, oh God, here you go, well, y'all men did this, y'all men did that, and I cut them off quick. Look, that's the man you chose. You had all them children with those men. And usually it's not just one man, it's a couple of men. So you're not going to get no attitude with me and take that out on me because I didn't do it. You sat there and laid there and allowed this man to do whatever he wanted to do. You all had fun, but you didn't really take into account the responsibility that comes with raising a child. Just because you have a baby with a man don't mean he going to stay with you. Take a breath. That just needs to marinate right there. And just because you're having sex with someone doesn't mean you need to have a kid with that person. Now, I know I got the super religious people on my show and they gonna come up in the comments and say all this. And I'm glad y'all here because a lot of y'all church women need to hear this because we know when y'all sin because y'all always have a baby. Y'all don't never use protection. Oh, yes, sir, I'm gonna talk about it. Because this is so silly. There are women who watch my show who write all the time whenever I do topics like this. Dawson, you are right. I didn't have children till I was ready to have children. I don't care what nobody said about me. I made sure I had condoms on me. You're waiting for a man to have condoms, but every time he comes over late at night to lay the pipe, when the time is right, you ain't got no condoms and you just let everything happen. You need to switch that around. Switch the tables. When he come over late at night to lay the pipe and you know the joker ain't right, you need to tell him to take a hike. You in control of your body. You in control of what you do. Stop giving all your power over to this man who wants you sexually but can't put a ring on your finger. He wants you sexually, but he can't even commit to the kids that he has with other women, and you in your little mind think, oh, well, if I have a baby with him, he gonna be there for me because he telling you all the right things. And then you have one baby and two babies by him. He don't take care of the 3 other kids he got from 3 different other women, and you just think it's just gonna be different because he's with you. Come on now, you can't be that silly. Like, really. And some of you may be saying, well, you know, this is their business. It's really no one else's business. No, it is everyone's business. And that's why you can see the neighbors in the first story and even on the second story in one of the news clips, the neighbors came out and said how sad it was for these women and for anyone to leave their children home unattended. How sad it is for you just to leave your children there. Now, the worst thing that could happen did happen when it comes to Lauren Dean's case. Her 7-year-old died. But other things could happen with leaving these children home alone. Because I'm sure this probably wasn't the first time. If people know your pattern and you know what kind of people we have in society, many people in the neighborhood, many people who may see that you leave your children home frequently, they could do anything to those children. How many children have been harmed because mom and dad or the guardian left them home alone, and people in the neighborhood knew those children were home alone, and your children became a target for abuse? Heard many stories off of the internet, on videos, through film, through documentaries, many people who went through things where they were left home alone, where they were neglected by parents, and it left them open to the wolves in society to take advantage of them. How many more movies have to be made? How many more YouTube videos have to be made for you parents to take care of your children? The children did not ask to come here. You had the children, now raise them. And for many of you women and men who are trying to find validation in a relationship in your girlfriend or your boyfriend, y'all need to get y'all self-esteem up. Because it's no woman or no man's job to give you self-esteem, to make you, to validate you. I can't help it your daddy wasn't there. I couldn't help it your mama didn't do what she has to do. You're an adult now. It's time for you to take up the pieces and begin to move on with your life. Because I believe with many of us, for those of you who didn't have a mother or a father, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson talked about this in one of his books, something called fictive kin, fictional kin, my play mama, my play daddy, my play auntie, people who were not related to you blood-wise, but spiritually, they came in your life at a time to correct you, and they were guiding posts. They were lights to you, to guide you through some very terrible times in your life, times when you were unsure. You may not have had a mom, you may not have had a dad, but there were still people who came along to help you along the way. And what you didn't get, you learned how to manage it. There are people who grew up with no parents. They're not around here complaining they didn't have a mom and a daddy. They just take the hand that they've been dealt in life and they keep going forward. Some of y'all around the wrong people, they keep y'all disabled. They keep y'all in low self-esteem. They keep you all, well, I ain't have no daddy, I ain't have no mama. That is like the man who laid beside the pool of Bethesda. That's your limp. That's your you just disabled with that. You use that everywhere you go. Oh, I ain't have no daddy. Nobody don't want to hear that, man. There's a lot of people didn't have a daddy or a mom, but they kept going. They didn't neglect their children. There are some people who raised their children better than they were raised. Because they said, I'm not going to raise my children and beat them like my mama beat me. Do to them what my mom and my dad did to me. I'm going to do better. There are no excuses. Your children are here for you to raise them. They didn't ask to come here. You need to take care of your children. Now, I know some people don't like it when Dawson speaks on this, but let me tell you, Dawson built this YouTube channel came out of my passion. My passion provided a platform for me. I don't have to always talk about trending topics or the topics y'all want me to talk about, because if you look at my videos, most of the stuff I talk about, nobody's talked about, because it came out of my passion for what I see as a social worker. And I just had to say that for somebody who's struggling with their YouTube channel. You trying to do all these celebrity topics and celebrity news and trending topics because you don't have a passion. Some of it's just clout chasing. Find your passion. And when you find your passion, you'll do what you do if nobody ain't watching you. And when you do what you do, your passion will draw the people who resonate with you. Now I'm out of here. Go off in the comments, say exactly what you want to say. Take care of your kids, y'all. It's your guy Dawson. Take care of yourself and each other. Peace.